What's going on, Badger fans? It's gonna be a sad lockdown Badgers today. We're gonna touch on the untimely passing of Brent Moss and the tragic passing of Devin Chandler. That's gonna be on today's Locked On Badgers.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Badgers, one of your first listens every day. And like I said, not a fun show today, but I think something that it's important that we touch on and we talk about. Two former Badgers, very sadly lost their lives really recently, and it's not all about just sports and what people do on the field. It's their impact in the community, on the program, their impact on us as fans. The people. And oftentimes we always lose sight of the bigger picture as fans, as people. I do that. We all do that, and it's important to recognize those who came through and take a second to just say it stinks, it sucks. People don't always live as long as they should, obviously, but I don't want to just not talk about that. All right, so I want to start with, this is not going to be a typical Locked On Badger show. I'm not going to throw ads in here. It's going to be shorter, but I just really want to make it about them and those two young men, or younger men, and obviously Brent Moss is a little older, but they both passed way too early. I want to start with Brent Moss, who died at the age of 50. For a lot of fans who are a little older, I was coming into my fandom at the beginning of those 90s. Like Brent Moss, those Badger teams were the beginning of my fandom. And quite frankly, if they hadn't been there, maybe I don't become a Badger fan. Like, I grew up in Wisconsin, but you never know. I remember just the toughness of Brent Moss. And if you go back and you watch him, he always reminded me of Roger Craig a little bit. Like, you're not going to arm tackle Brent Moss. He's going to run through that nonsense. He's going to bring the pain, deliver the pain. And so much of what we take for granted as Badger fans, the sustained success, the just heightened expectations, right? The bowl streaks, the running game, the NFL pipelines. It started with those early 90s teams. It started with Barry Alvarez, and one of the locomotives of that team was Brent Moss, right? Barry Alvarez brought a vision of toughness, of physicality, of we're going to give a crap, of we're going to impose our will. And Brent Moss was his hammer, along with an offensive line, defensive line. But Brent Moss delivered on the field the vision that Barry Alvarez was bringing to the program, right? And his 93 season, it remains one of the best Badger running back seasons, not just in the early 90s, in the 2000s, and whenever. You ran for 1,600 yards and 16 touchdowns on 5+ per clip. Big Ten MVP. You helped the team win a Rose Bowl. Like, again, this is the foundation of what recent Wisconsin Badgers football is built on, and Brent Moss helped lay that foundation. A lot of nice comments from former teammates, coaches. Terrell Fletcher had some really nice things to say, his former running mate. Barry Alvarez, in his autobiography, once famously said, if I needed a short yardage, if I was in a short yardage situation, I would go to Brent Moss over anybody. And that, again, speaks to the physicality and the toughness and just the will to make it happen on the field. The guy was an incredible running back. And if, again, and a dude who could have played in any era with that type of toughness and physicality, he would have done really well in any era. Matt LePay, voice of the Badgers, said, "I think the mentality that Wisconsin football became, in many ways, maybe in every way, it initiated in those early 90s teams, certainly that Rose Bowl title team, led in large part by Brent Moss." So, yeah, I hope people take a second to go back, watch some of the film, watch what he did in the Rose Bowl, watch what he did in that 93 season. Just an incredible running back, gone way, way too soon. 50 is young. Like, I'm not that far from 50, to be honest. And that's just crazy to me. So definitely very sad. And then transitioned into equally sad, if not sadder news. Devin Chandler, former Wisconsin Badgers wide receiver from the 2020 class, committed to Wisconsin, ended up transferring to the University of Virginia. He was one of 3 University of Virginia student athletes that were tragically killed by a shooter on campus 2 days ago. And it's just so sad. I mean, he's a junior in college. He's so young. And he's a guy, like, when you see the outpouring of support and tweets and social media communications from the Badgers, from teammates, you can tell how beloved he was, right? You can tell how good of a person he was, how much he was liked in the locker room. University of Wisconsin released a statement. Jim Leonard released a statement. A bunch of teammates, ranging from the people in the receiver room, right? Skylar Bell released a really impactful statement. He had just talked to him a couple days before, and Curtis Neal, who went to that same high school. He came to Wisconsin partially because um, Devin Chandler was here. He released just a couple heartbroken statements. Nick Herbig did, Braylon Allen, Danny Davis, on and on and on. Kendrick Pryor. It's just too sad. So young, so young, and so senseless to lose your life and to have it taken in such a tragic, meaningless, anger-filled way is just equally horrible. So yeah, just it sucks. It stinks. And I just want to, touch on both of them because Badgers, it's bigger than just what you did on the field. You impact fans, you impact people in the community, in the locker room, and once you're here, it kind of those echoes, those reverberations you make while you're here, they continue echoing on. And we're gonna remember both these men for a long time. And a couple really nice statements from University of Virginia head coach Tony Elliott. Quote, "We are all fortunate to have these young men be a part of our lives. They touched us, inspired us, worked incredibly hard as representatives to our program. These precious young men were called away way too soon." And then this is from one of Devin Chandler's teachers, actually. He was an unbelievably nice person, always a huge smile, really gregarious and funny. One of those people who's just impossible not to like. It is so sad and enraging that he is gone. And I think that last sentence, he is so sad and enraging that he is gone, it really hits home. So I have nothing more to say on it. I can't do it justice. Obviously, I'm not capable of that. But I did want to touch on it. Both former Badgers, Brent Moss, Devin Chandler, gone way, way too soon. And, in Brent Moss's case, obviously, I don't know what happened there. Cause of death hasn't been determined, but 50 is too young. And in Devin Chandler's case, he's just a baby. Like I'm 39. I mean, he's just a kid. And yeah, enraging is a really good word for that. So things can change really quick, man. Hug the people you love. It absolutely stinks, but I did want to touch on it. That is today's Locked On Badgers.